Hi, I'm Alicia Abendroth, and this is Tridge Agri-insider, your agri-food for thought podcast where we talk about anything and everything agri-food supply chain, brought to you by Tridge. Meet Dr. Dorothee Schulze Schwering, a true agriculture enthusiast since birth. Dr. Dorothee's lifelong journey has revolved around agriculture, constantly seeking new and innovative ways to support Germany's farming community. On today's episode of Agri-insider, stay tuned for insights on German agriculture, agri-e-commerce, and even the buzz around insect farming. Hi, Dr. Dorothee Schulze Schwering. It's very nice to have you with us today on Agri-insider.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here to talk to you, to have international audience, and I want to spot some light on German agriculture, and looking forward to our podcast and talk.
Wonderful. So to start, let's just kind of give a landscape of who you are. Maybe you could just tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, well, my name, you always introduced me. So I'm Dr. Dorothee Schulze Schwering. I am 32 years old. I'm from Germany, in the western part of Germany, in North Rhine-Westphalia. And I have a farming background. So I grew up on a farm in North Rhine-Westphalia with boarding horses. So horses, we give accommodation. And until 2016, we also had pig farming as a work sharing system. So we got the pregnant sows who then farrowed, and the fattening took place on another farm. And well, then I did my A levels, and straight after that, I went for agricultural studying. And after my master's and also after my PhD, I'm now the innovation manager of the Chamber of Agriculture of North Rhine-Westphalia. And I'm really looking forward to this very interesting and innovative kind of job, especially in our agri-food industry.
Wonderful. So you've built an entire lifelong career in agriculture. I mean, not even just built, you were born into this business. So I would say, I like to ask my guests sometimes, did you find agriculture? Did agriculture find you? I mean, in this case, I don't even know if that question is relevant since it's kind of your birthright at this point, right? So let's go back into that a bit more. You grew up on a farm, you have worked in agriculture your entire career, you studied this, you did your PhD. Maybe give us a bit more insight into those early journeys or kind of when you decided to work in agriculture, not just born into it, but work in it.
Oh, well, yeah, it's really like I born into it because, I grew up on a farm, and I had really like a childhood like a picture book, so to speak. So I have three older siblings, and we never flew on summer vacation. Instead, we spent our whole summer vacation on the farm, harvesting and looking after the horses and pigs. And if you want, so it's really like a childhood, even if it sounds a bit romantic, like Astrid Lindgren's. In German, we call it Bullabü. I guess the English title is Children of Noisy Village. Um, so it's really a bit like this. And even as a child, I was always outside in the fields on the farm. And it was somehow clear to me that I wanted to do something close to agriculture, close to nature. And of course, as a very young girl, I also wanted to get a veterinarian before I wanted to get a farmer, so a real practicing farmer. And after my A levels, this was really like I got into economics, into figures and numbers. And then I wanted to combine those two passions. So for economic questions as well as agricultural passion. And then I decided to study agricultural science. And yeah, of course, I was sometimes struggling which way I should go, but I never considered to go into another industry. So that was completely clear to me. And I guess my certainty to really stick to it also grow over time, because I had to take on responsibility on our farm very early, at a very early age. So I was responsible for yeah, some things, some smaller things in the beginning, and later on I did all the customer care and all the yeah, renting stuff, and I really loved that. So that's was why I was always sure to be right in this industry and never want to go somewhere else.
I love that. I hear two different stories. Sometimes people want to stay in this industry at all costs, and some want to leave it at all costs, right? It kind of, I think it goes both ways. But it's exciting to hear that you grew up in the business and then decided to make this your education and follow it throughout your entire career. So what exactly is your family business? You said it used to be involved in or it is involved in animal husbandry, but horses and pigs. Can you maybe just tell us a bit more about what you do?
Yeah, it was until 2016. It was the main focus on pig farming. So as this work sharing system where we got pregnant sows, they farrowed at our farm, and after a few weeks, they went to fattening to another farm. So the whole keeping on that. As a family, everyone had to jump in and
Mhm.
had to give a hand, while castration and all that stuff, injections. And the other part is the horses. So people as you and me can stable their horses at our farm. So they come and just do riding and yeah, some brushing, but we do all the caring stuff like feeding, mucking out, and bringing them on the fields and all that stuff. And the horsing business is, of course, a business that is yeah, very close to humans. So you also have to interact, see how the horses are, how the people are. And I'm really like the girl in between the farming stuff that needs to be done and the people that are coming to us asking, can you may look after our horse because I'm on vacation or whatever. So that's really the whole customer caring story was then my responsibility.
So that's really interesting. You talked about bringing the human element of the farming into your family business, and I think that is probably a big difference between being in the pig farming business. Is it's very B2B, but a lot of what you're describing is almost like B2C, right? It's people coming to you with the horses, looking for stables, looking for care, right? It's a lot of that personal touch. Can I trust you with my horse, right? It's a very different line of business, probably to the pig farming. And it also, I think, is quite interesting because it highlights this experience that you have with transformation. So, I mean, you said you're 32 years old. How old were you when the business then made that switch?
Yeah, it's now, well, I think when it really turned, it's now, what do we have now?
2023.
Yeah, it was nearly 2023, 24, I guess I was, when our, yeah. So I was 23, 24 when we decided not to go on with pig farming and just keep horsing. And Well, that was also a decision, of course, we made as a family, because we had just 42 places where sows could farrow. So that is not that much compared to other farms who have much more space and much more pigs. So we had really to decide whether to grow or to do something else. And my mother and my father got good opportunities. So my father stuck to the horses, and my mother then got a good job offer very close to agriculture. So that was a good deal to us.
Yeah, what it was like going through a transition like that, because it's big for a family to do something like that.
Yeah, of course. So it was for us a whole development, so to speak. So on the first hand, we had to do some converting within the stable. So we have the animal welfare issues. So we got the first improvements in the stables. Of course, it were some small steps. We are trying to do that. And after a while, we noticed that we are a small number in the system, because we only have a small number of sows, and of course a lot of work to do. And compared to other farms, we are the smaller one. And then we had to decide, well, do we want to go on with pig farming? Do we want to grow? Or do we want to take the opportunity we got, or my mother got, and switch to the industry, to go and working external? And then we decided to do that because otherwise we had to grow, and we didn't want to grow. And I decided I don't want to take over the pig farming business. And my siblings were also not that looking forward to go on with pig farming. And it's also because of the whole industry that changed, and the requirements that changed, and the planning insecurities. So would it be the same if we say yes now? And converting our stable, is it still okay in 3 years from now? So that was one part of the decision tree we had when we decided not to go on with pig farming.
Amazing. No, and I appreciate you kind of sharing those insights, because I think, and it's a theme that we're going to get into with some of the next questions and later in the podcast. I think this, being creative, weighing your options, as a family business, having to diversify and look at alternatives, that's something you're doing every day. And it's interesting that, connecting those dots between your personal experience and some of what you do today. But we'll get to that down the road.
I just have to add that because it's really like a family decision. There are always families behind who have passion for what they are doing, and it was also hard for us to somehow take this decision. But on the other hand, we now are looking forward, for example, to Christmas, because no one has to run into the pixie. No one has to run to look after the sows, and that is something we now also enjoy. Of course, it was a good time to have those pigs on the farm, and sometimes they are missing. But on the other hand, we have other opportunities now, and they are also great to have.
Wonderful. So how far are you from this business? Are you in the same town still?
Nearly. So I'm working in Münster. That is about 50 kilometers from our farm.
Wonderful.
So it's still one region. It's still North Rhine-Westphalia.
Okay, cool. Very, very, very good. And I agree with what you said about the hard decisions. I think these are, agriculture is a lifestyle, and, breaking away from something that you've built into your family identity, and making a decision to reinvent yourself, it's not easy. So I tip my hat to your family and to your business for making that change. Focusing a little bit more on your academics. So you were in higher education for 8 years. You achieved a doctorate in agribusiness. Very, very impressive. You've been in this agri space your entire life. You talked about some of the passions that move you. Could you share a little bit more? And now we can get a bit high level too with, what makes you excited to get up in the morning today?
Oh, well, a good question. Agriculture is an industry that never sleeps. It's always needed, and it's really characterized by its enormous innovative power. And that's why I'm happy to be in there and enjoying working within agriculture. And in particular, having this job as an innovation manager, which makes me serious about the future. I'm so often fascinated or stunning about what our industry achieves, and I'm happy to see how innovative our farms are, our producers are, and the agri-food industry in total is very innovative. And while together, we are working for agricultural of today and tomorrow, and that was always like pushing me to really stick to the industry. And nearly everyone is asking me why I decided to go to do a doctorate. And well, I have three main reasons, so to speak. One is my passion for the topic. I have some kind of a special history. If we look at my bachelor degree in 2015, my master degree in 2017, and my PhD I finished in 2021. And all those three theses were about agricultural e-commerce. I started with looking at how the feed industry is going to deal with e-commerce. Then I looked at it on a broader perspective, so agriculture inputs in total. And later on, I also had this topic in my doctoral thesis and in my PhD. And it was always like fascinating me how a traditional sector is going to change by digital sales channels, how very long established companies are reacting on those new traditional sales channels, and how the industry is really open for this change if the mindset is already there. So that was my passion for the topic, to go on with agriculture, e-commerce. And then, of course, the market. At the point when I started my bachelor thesis, there were plenty of startups that pushed or jumped out of the ground and jumped into the traditional agricultural business. Some of them were external players, so nothing to do with agriculture. And they brought like unrest or new flavor into the industry. And online agricultural trade received a very huge interest from different players. And then I did my master's thesis on the general topic, so regardless of the type of agriculture input. And I got many calls afterhand from startups, from established companies who wanted to have a talk with me about my results. They want to discuss my results and how they are planning their sales channels. And I was really like happy to see that my work I did is of so much interest. And of course, I was then a bit like, oh well, the market is looking for answers. They have many questions, and I can answer just a small amount of questions. And I want to do. I want to go on. I want to answer more questions, and I know or I knew that no one else was searching to this topic at that point of time. So then I decided, well, I'm looking for a PhD supervisor and go on and try to answer those open questions of the industry. Yeah. And well, of course, I have to say, I decided against a very good job offer in agricultural trade, and I went for a PhD without knowing how to finance my PhD. So I had also to look for funding, to scholarships, so that I can finance my PhD. But I noticed that the market interest is there, and I have to go for that. Otherwise, it's a dynamic field of business and of research. And otherwise, another one would take on with my topic. That's why I wanted to stick to that. No one else should go with my field of research. And I went on with that. And of course, the third reason was, of course, the critics as well. So, of course, some of them or some of the people I met were like, oh, well, she's doing now a doctorate. Right. And I often felt, a bit like they are smiling on me, with eyes rolling, according to the motto now. The little one is going for a doctorate, and she will come to sense very soon. And then I was, okay, well, now I go directly to go for a doctorate because, I know I can do it. Yes, we can. Yes, I can. And then I was very motivated to go on with this very interesting topic and very relevant topic.
I love that story. I don't think there's a lot of people in the world who would turn down a job offer after having already done a bachelor's and a master's to then go back to education because they see an opportunity and are doing this for their fellow people or fellow colleagues in the marketplace, right? I mean, you were literally responding to market signals. I mean, not even just market signals, conversations, people reaching out to you saying, hey, Dorothee, what is this e-commerce? What kind of data are you finding? We need to know more because this is the future. And I think that shows a lot about you as a person to be willing to walk away from a job opportunity and pursue this research question for, a PhD. It shows me your dedication to the industry, really. So all the critics should, I love that. So I did do some research also on you and kind of what you worked on. And I saw that for your PhD, your dissertation was on e-commerce and sales management and agribusiness. So, here at Tridge, we also focus on e-commerce and kind of digitalizing the way agriculture trades, connects, works with each other. So I think there's a lot of parallels between probably your findings and what we find here at Tridge, or what we're trying to do at Tridge. For the audience, I'd love to hear some of the kind of key takeaways from your dissertation on e-commerce and agribusiness.
Yeah, well, of course, some of my results are somewhat old now because it's a very dynamic industry, and some of the studies are from 2017, so they're not that brand new, but I know there's not much of newer research done so far. And some startups from the very beginning are now insolvent. So the business and the industry of e-commerce and agriculture has already changed. But in summary, I can say the joy of experimenting was great among German farmers. So the share of farmers who once tested e-commerce for their agricultural business purposes was about 50%.
Wow.
And hence, it is not that the current penetration rate of agriculture is very low. But if we keep in mind the figure of 50% once tested, we know that's not about the competence. Because every one of us knows online shopping from the private business. Everyone is online nearly each day, and the same is for farmers. They are online. They are doing online shopping in the private, so they have the competence. Another interesting finding was that stationary devices are favored against mobile devices. So the stationary computer was more used than the mobile phone, probably because you have to make orders not in between, more in series. And of course, you have a bigger screen. You can really carefully go through it. But in total, and really the key findings, and it's not surprising, is e-commerce in agriculture is absolutely product dependent. So the more standardized a product is, the better it is suited for online agricultural sales. Because if we have capital intensive goods or bulk goods that we need to ship in big bags, or if we have products that are very intensive in explanations, then they're not that suited, they're not that demanded by farmers, because there's so much insecurities in behind, and they need to talk to someone to get advice, to get consultation, to go for or against a certain product. In total, we had about nearly 80% that are producing regular farm inputs. But here we have to insert the but, because this is of course just for the highly standardized products. So like daily products that we use in everyday life, or maintenance products for the housing, cleaning material and all that stuff. They are more regularly shopped on the internet. And for example, for feed stuff, for fertilizers, or for seeds, it was less than 5% on a regular basis. So there's a difference. And on the other hand, the mobile phone is really like the benchmark. So if I call my personal advisor, Tom, I have my order done within 2 minutes. In the case of errors, Tom is there. Tom is, I can go on my phone and reach out to Tom, and he is supporting me with deleting the error. And the product arrangement is also very relevant. So what we noticed is that farmers also compare how the shop is sorted, or the products are arranged within the shop.
Oh.
It's a bit like if you go in your supermarket every day, you know where you can find what.
Right.
And it's the same when you go into an online shop. You want to have a very, very good filtering option. And if you have a filter that is useless, or you think, well, how do I get there? The filter is really not, it makes no sense. So the farmer would say, okay, well, they don't have a clue of what they are doing. We're not going to buy here anymore. So that was also quite interesting to that. And concluding, we can say for Germany, It is really like a people's business. So agricultural input trade is a people's business, which is hard to transfer to digital channels. And if you want to transfer it to digital, it's mainly done for highly standardized products or products that you can, where you have a repurchase and within a low total shopping cart. Now that's another point. If you buy just one small thing with a low amount of money, compare it to your total yearly shopping chart, then the percentage which is done online is very, very low compared to the bulk products, to the high involvement products that are bought on stationary level.
That's really interesting. So there's like a threshold, a certain level that people are willing to buy online. Like consumers buy, glassware or kitchen goods, whatever, online. But when it comes to things in a certain price category, at the end of the day, these farmers are still average consumers in their other life, right? They don't feel comfortable purchasing high value products online.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like that because imagine you're buying a feedstuff, it's not like an economic issue behind. You also have the animal and the animal welfare. And if you have some diseases or whatever, some things going on the farm, you have to react on that by rearranging the food or the feed, and this is online nearly not possible because you are calculating on a different way, on more, like I'm calling Tom and Tom is calculating with me the new feed recipe.
Right. No, and I know from my own personal experience as well that the human element in purchasing agricultural products is extremely valued in agriculture. Do you think, in your personal opinion, that personal touch will ever become less relevant, especially as we move into a more, digitalized era of, I guess, humankind even, right? Not just agriculture alone, but, we're going through a lot of digital revolution. I would say since 2020, it's changed a lot, even the landscape in the last 3 years. Do you think that personal element will ever go away in agriculture?
Digitalization is really a huge topic, and it is, of course, a huge part of agriculture as well. We see that on the fields, in the stables, everywhere is digitalization. We have big data coming up. But with the integration of artificial intelligence into farm management systems, there might be a new way or a new form of e-commerce in a few years. But it will be interesting to see how much autonomy farmers are willing to give up. So, of course, technically, very much is possible. But the question is if the farmer willing to really give that up, because there are also next to the economic factors, there are also emotional factors, personal levels that are involved in this decision-making process, in the buying process. And those personal factors remain part of our social interaction, and that can't be digital. So even if a lot is technical possible, perhaps not everything has to be implemented right now. And I guess it might be working if we get a mixture out of that. We call about here cross-channel marketing. We have really a lot of marketing and sales channels that have to go hand in hand, that have to be connected to each other, have to be out of one color, so to speak, and that will be a very good way. only digital and only online, I guess, will not work. And some personal contact is always very important. And I guess that will, especially in agriculture, also be in future like this.
I liked what you said about the personal touch being so important to humanity. I really agree with you. And I think it raises this question of, just because something is technically possible, maybe we should still ask ourselves, why are we doing it? Is it really bringing an impact, right? And I know you are kind of touching on that with this point of, it's theoretically possible, but should we do it, right? Or will it be done? Those are still two very different things. So I agree with you. It'll be very interesting to see how the kind of e-commerce space evolves in the next couple of years. Like you said, digitalization isn't going to stay away. I mean, it's coming to agriculture. It's here. But what format it will take on. And I think I would like to see it go into a direction where digitalization works with the humans hand in hand.
Exactly. So it has to go hand in hand. I guess digitalization offers huge benefits. You can be more effective, you can save money, you can save time if the software is right. And I also did some research on smart and precision farming, and there's always, there were always the outcome, like owning or having a digital application on farm is completely different to really be able to operate it in the right way, that it will bring me advantages in time, in terms of costs and time savings. So here we have to work on competence. We have to go for training, digital trainings with agricultural workers, with farmers, with gardeners, with foresters, that they are really trained to deal with those digital solutions in the right way to get the full benefit out of it.
Amazing. And I'm assuming some of that is what you're doing today. Let's go into the present day. So we'd love to unpack more about what you do and what you're doing today in the German agricultural space. But maybe before we get into that, what does the Landwirtschaftskammer NRW, Chamber of Agriculture for everyone who's not German speaking, what do you guys do? What's your purpose?
Yeah, well, the Chamber of Agriculture of North Rhine-Westphalia is an agricultural self-government for about 33.6 thousand agricultural, horticultural, and forestry farms and their employees. It also carries out sovereign tasks for the Ministry of Agriculture of the state of North Rhine-Westphalia. We have about 1,600 employees within 13 district offices. And the main task, of course, the overall task is support farmers, gardeners, foresters, and strengths in rural areas. And we do that by training. For instance, we have 7,700 apprenticeships in 13 agricultural professions.
Wow.
Technical colleges for agricultural with about 900 students. Another huge part is the consulting, so advising farms on all aspects of economic aspects of improving productivity, animal welfare, marketing, environmental compatibility, and all those questions. And then we have the funding part, so the approval, the disbursement, and auditing of proper use of EU federal or state funds, like the inspection under the Plant Protection Act or the inspection under the fertilizer or ordinance. We also do seed certifications in that direction. And the consulting is really along the whole chain of agricultural topics like sustainable soil management, animal welfare, then farm services. We also have the renewable resources and all that stuff. So it's really like full range of topics we can cover, and we have a huge team that covers all those questions and can support farms by going on with the farming business. We also have some institutions, some central institutions where we have experimental and training centers for agriculture, like Haus Düsse, Haus Rüsswig. It's like a farm, a practicing farm, where we also can test and try out some new stuffs, or also feed stuff and all that kind of topics. We have a horticultural center in Cologne, the technical colleges I also mentioned, and well, it's, as you see, it's a broad range of topics we can cover, and always for supporting all the farming businesses in North Rhine-Westphalia, and of course also around if necessary.
Thank you for pulling those facts for us, because I think it's, we're speaking to a global audience today. I think to put it in perspective, so North Rhine-Westphalia is one state in the country of Germany. And if I understood correctly, there's 33,000 farmers, horticulturalists, members in just this one state of Germany alone that you are representing, working with, offering programs to. Yeah, we should just let that number sit for a second, because I think it shows how much of an agrarian country Germany has behind all of the things that probably the global audience associates Germany with, which is fast cars, Autobahn, made in Germany, right? There are a lot of humans in this country working in agriculture that have multi-generational businesses. I mean, you might even shed some light. I mean, how many generations are some of these businesses that you work with or in your area?
How many generations on a farm?
On average, like, is it 3 generations or 4 generations?
At least it depends on, but 3 is of course possible, and at some stage also maybe more. But if I look out of my window, there are 3 generations on the farm next door, living under one roof.
That's incredible. And I think, I just really wanted to emphasize those numbers, because, it's not every country in the world is set up like that and has these support systems either for their farmers and for their communities, agricultural communities. So yeah, again, thank you for highlighting that and for pulling those facts. So what about you? What are your roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, well, I'm at the Chamber of Agriculture as an innovation manager. So it's really like a new job, a new position that was created from scratch exactly 1 year ago. The relevance of new innovative production methods, business models, processing techniques for food, and of course the non-food business as well, and sales and marketing channels have been recognized by the Chamber of Agriculture, and this is why my position now exists. And I'm really like the interface between agriculture, between research and development, and the startup scene. So I can say I have a very or extremely exciting day. No day is different. Is the same. Every day is different. Especially in the food industry, there are lots of innovations. And I would say I have 3 or 4 main tasks The first is the identification of fields of innovation. So what is new, where is the trends, what is going on in the market, what's about agri-food innovations. This belongs to food innovations as well as non-food innovations. For instance, if we can use some material, some products out of the agriculture industry for packaging industry, for instance, or for constructing industry. So see also where's the non-food industry and where needs the non-food industry some inputs. The other field of my work is networking. Network matters. So it's key when we are talking about innovation that we are talking to each other. Who knows what and who is doing what. If we have a new topic, it's always important to look around, to talk to someone, getting all the informations together. And then the third task is the innovation transfer. So getting to know about innovative concept is very important for producers. So I try to give inspiration. I want to talk about innovations. Farmers get inspired and make and build up new products, new business models. And of course, the fourth task is really, as a team of the Chamber of Agriculture, we are supporting the farms by getting started. So what are the first steps when I go into this new field? What do I have to remember, or the regulations I need? How can I get my idea be implemented? How can I get it running? And that is what we as a Chamber of Agriculture can support as a whole team from different angles. And with our broad field of topics that we cover. And well, it's really like when I talk about innovation in agriculture, I'm always really like fascinated because there's so much innovative power, and we have farms that are interested. And if we are going into a new field, it's always helpful to be not alone, because you have your daily business still running. And you need someone who is doing the market research, who is talking to researchers, who is connecting those players. I'm really like the interface for farms who want to get into new topics. And I'm the interface then to all the relevant players to get really started and to get the idea running.
That sounds like a dream role. I mean, it sounds so exciting to identify opportunities, network, plug some of these gaps, or identify opportunities and connect opportunities to transfer knowledge, to learn from people. You're definitely a person, I think, that anyone in Germany or even globally should keep in their network, because you're working with these different businesses on the ground, if I understood correctly, right, to actually make some of these impacts happen in this innovation space. If I kind of can summarize it, I think that's a pretty good summary. So what are some of the challenges you're seeing? Because you work, like I said, pretty closely with these different businesses. What are some of the challenges you're seeing your producers in your network face at the moment?
Oh, well, actually, of course, the weather is always a factor. We had a wet August, so harvesting time was a bit struggling, but that just as a side factor. I guess some of our producers really are looking for perspectives, so they have a lack of prospects for expansion or for keeping livestock, especially pig farming. We have hardly any new chats or pixies built. farmers are willing to realize animal welfare standards by converting their pigsties, but it's often not that easy in terms of licensing, the regulations and all that stuff. Farmers in Germany sometimes feel a bit like being a placing of policy and society. Because new requirements, legally required conversion concepts cannot or can just partly be fulfilled. And they are coming up very regularly. And the main problem is the uncertainty and the lack of planning security or planning certainty, because will the pigsty I built today still be in compliance with the law tomorrow? Mm-hmm. And here it's always hard to handle this question, and that is what some farmers are lacking now. So this planning certainty. Another factor is what we see in North Rhine-Westphalia as well in Germany as a total, the number of livestock, so of pigs and cattle, are going to decline. Mm-hmm. They're going down. So we have, there are some reasons for that. One reason is, of course, a decline in meat consumption. Less than 4 kilo compared from 2002 to 2001. And for pig or for pork, it was 7 kilos. It was less from 2002 to 2000. Sorry, now I'm a bit confused. Within the last 5 years, from 2017 to 2022, pork consumption went down by 7 kgs. So wow. That is a lot. So if the people are not going for meat and pork anymore, of course, the animal numbers are declining. Difficult is also the export of meat, because, of course, the animal numbers are going down. And of course, some restrictions from importing countries like China. We had the African swine fever here in Germany as well. That was also causing some troubles. Other concerns are regarding high energy costs. They are higher than in neighboring countries. Lack of labor. So who really wants to work in a piggery or in a cowshed? Another topic is always the financing of projects under the requirements of the European Green Deal. So if someone is willing to change something, how can we get the financing for that? And as we also mentioned or already mentioned, in agriculture, whole families are involved to it, and farmers put their heart and soul into it, and they fight to really keep the farm. And they are under pressure to the generation conflict, because they don't want to be the generation who have to give up the farm in the end. And so they are fighting until it's really, until the later, so to speak. And some of them also have no successor, so that might always be also be a problem. So a whole range of topics that are concerning farms, but I guess some of them really are looking for those innovative concepts now and looking for alternatives to get more into diversification, building not one main farming type, maybe go as well to a different, or building 2 or 3 focuses on the farm. That's
Well, thank you for listing that out. What you're describing, I think, is a great case study for what I see, the complexities I see farmers facing all over the world. It's not just Germany. I mean, what you just said, one business, one family business with, love and passion and dedication to their industry, to their job, is having to deal with things like, and I listed it out while you were speaking, the swine flu, legislation changes, right? Labor issues, uh, economic dynamics. So, like you said, the input costs increasing, financial viability and demand decrease. I mean, this is a really complex storm. All the while, they're taking care of thousands of animals sometimes, and having to pay those bills and keep them alive and well and healthy. And I just think it's a great case study to show how much stress I think our food supply chain is under on a personal level. Even it's not easy nowadays to be in agriculture. And I used to speak to farmers in the States who don't have 5 or 10 generation businesses, maybe just 1 or 2, but even they would say in their lifetime they have seen an increase in difficulty in farming. They would say, back in 30, 40 years ago when I started, I could just spray and the market would take, and it all kind of worked out at the end of the day. Now it's like they look at their balance sheets and they say, well, why is it no longer working out? So I think it's really clever, and I'll applaud the Chamber of Agriculture to open a role like this that you're filling, the innovation role, because I think the industry does need a beacon of light. I think they need to know, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's things we're doing to be innovative, to make sure that there's opportunities for you despite all these challenges. So yeah, maybe could you just highlight what are some concrete things you're doing to combat some of these challenges?
Well, how I support the producers is, of course, as I mentioned, the overview of fields of innovation. So when a producer is interested in the topic on the field of innovation, I jump in and do some research, market analysis, the networking as well. If we want to pick out some topics, then it's really like, we have the insect farming business, which is also one of my topic. Really like since the first day I'm here as an innovation manager. So how do farmers succeed in getting into insect farming? We also have an event on that. The second event on insect farming will take place in November this year. So we are dealing with this topic from different angles, and then bioeconomy and circular economy. So how can agricultural byproducts be put to novel use? Mm-hmm. How can we put that into the circle again and get value out of it, get value for the farms out of it? As I mentioned, if we can take some byproducts for the housing industry or for the packaging industry, for example, the byproducts of asparagus. If you eat asparagus, there are always some byproducts that you can use for the floor. For instance, someone is creating a very modern type of floor out of it. Or you can take hemp for construction issues and for packaging. And of course, alternative proteins beside insects. There are algae, insects. I mentioned already duckweed is also very broadly discussed now, or there's some research on that. And there's always a question of the role of agriculture within those structures and concepts. We have plant fermentation, cell and insect-based products. So we have a huge trend in Germany, veganism. So people who are just eating plant-based products. So therefore we need to push legumes. And legumes not just for as a feedstuff. We need to bring it into human consumption. And of course, all those cell-based products, cultivated meat. That is also a very interesting question of the future. We see how that will develop. In Germany, I guess it will be more slowly developing compared to other countries because of restrictions, novel food restrictions and all that stuff. But here's also the question, which role will agriculture take on in this field? And is this a business model for agriculture as well in the future? I don't know. We will see how it will work.
Really, really interesting topics. The one that sticks with me is the insect farming. And I mentioned this also with a new kind of context. So I was in the States visiting some family, and I kind of mentioned this whole topic that's happening in the European Union about insects and insect farming and insect use, and how the European Union just pretty recently regulated or allowed for insects to be used for human consumption. Talking to you've mentioned now refurbishing some of these existing agricultural businesses to include insect farming. My family, and these are not agri experts, but that might just average people, right? They had no idea. They had never. This isn't a concept there yet. The way that we're talking here in Europe about literally reinventing our food systems, which will ultimately have an impact on what is available on food shelves, i.e. on what we eat. Reinventing it in the direction of insects wasn't even on their radar yet. So I think, again, looking at an international audience, the fact that we have someone here from the Chamber of Agriculture who's actually looking at the numbers, the science, the research behind what commercial insect farming could look like is really, really fascinating. Could you just, I don't want to get into it too deeply, but could you just shed some light on what your findings are in this sector? I mean, where is this industry going? What are their goals? What are we trying to do with the insect farming space?
Yeah, well, firsthand, we need to clarify that insect farming is more, the purpose is more on providing high proteins to the pet food industry and to agriculture. So like replacing fish meal and replacing soybean meal. This is really the main market for insect products. And after that, it's also going into feed stuff for pigs and for poultry. But the smaller percentage is going into our human consumption. So we are really talking in agricultural context more about those farms who are going to produce insects for agriculture and the pet food industry mainly. And here we are going to figure out how concepts can be developed, or there are some companies that have already developed some concepts for agricultural businesses to jump into this field of insects. And now we, as a Chamber of Agriculture and also all the other research institutes, have to put some light on all the open questions. So regarding how to keep those insects, regarding feeding those insects properly, because you want to have the same quality over time. So you have to feed them in the same way. The housing techniques, and in Germany, It's also a huge topic, the construction, the building requirements. So is it allowed to build it as agricultural, or do I have it as a normal business, so to speak? So there are questions that need to be clarified, and the insects are like livestock, like a cattle, like a dairy, like a poultry. So they are the same, and the regulations for feeding livestock are all the same. So we have to keep that also in mind. And there's a huge amount of questions that have to be clarified before really going into it. And of course, farmers are interested in those answers when they're going to really jump into the field of insects. And we try to bring some light into the darkness and bring together people who are more into those insect business and can answer us some questions. So that's why we are organizing an event in November, introduce some farmers who are interested in insect farming to get clarified one of the first questions, and getting into contact and talking about how it might work, and if it is really a market where they can earn money. That's, in the end, it's all about making some money. You can't do a huge investment into the housing. It will be a huge investment if you go into that. So you have to make sure you get something out of it. And of course, there are many factors that are influencing those decisions, and we are still working on clarifying some of those uncertainties.
And it's an unknown market as of now, right? So yeah. While you were speaking, I have to ask. So how are insects harvested? Is it like a vacuum? Is it maybe it's a silly question, but I keep thinking, I'm trying to visualize this new world, because I haven't ever seen a commercial insect farm where bugs are flying around and then, yeah.
Yeah, we are mostly talking about the larvae. So they are not flying around. And then you separate them from their excrements. And then really how do you say that in English? Sieben?
Yeah, like you strain them. Yeah.
Yeah, just you strain them, and then you have them separated, and then there are several killing techniques, so to speak. You can put them into hot water, so you boil them, you can heat them, you can mash them. So there are different ways of, or you can freeze them as also an opportunity. You like deactivating them. But because they are not flying around, so we are talking about larvae, that makes harvesting much easier.
Yeah, you completely just changed my vision, because I was thinking like farmers would be stepping into like an apiary, like with bees or something, that kind of thing, with a whole suit. And it's a new world, the imagination can go wild.
Yeah, of course. But it's here we are talking about the systems that are available on the market are nearly fully automated, or at least halfly automated. So the work load for the farmer is in most cases comparably low compared to the amount of output, so to speak. But of course, if you have a highly automated production site, you have a high investment.
Yes. Yep. Very, very interesting. And I will, maybe there'll be some content released from your November session on this, because I think I would like to do some more research. This is a whole new space whole new territory that's widely untouched.
Yeah, it's for us also very new territory, and we also get or need to get used to it or get into it. As I mentioned, there are not all questions answered yet. So we work on it, and we are talking to many people to get to it.
Yeah, no, really cool. So and I know we're getting kind of to the end of our conversation today, but I thought you'd maybe still share, you insects and these things. We're talking about a lot of trends. Just kind of summarizing, what are some trends you see in Germany specifically within the agri space? And it doesn't have to be even just things that you work on. I mean, high level factors that are shifting the German agriculture industry.
Yeah, I guess very obvious is the food trends in Germany, so that we are have a reduction in meat and pork consumption, or in meat in total, and a focus more on plant-based food alternatives. We have plant-based milk alternatives, plant-based cheese alternatives, and all that stuff. So really like veganism, plant-based food. Sustainability is a big global topic. Climate change, biodiversity, these are also topics in Germany, very on the top. Greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture are, of course, one topic. Here we talk about reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and how can how need agriculture to be transformed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. We talk about reduction of animals, of cattle, of poultry, of pork as well, or pigs. We see that in Ireland, for instance, or as well in the Netherlands or in France, talking about reducing dairies, for instance. Carbon farming is a huge topic. So trading with humus certificates. How can we get the humus part higher, and then trading those CO2 certificates? That is a huge topic. And of course, as I mentioned, alternative proteins, fermentation is a huge topic. We need to feed 9.7 billion people in 2015, if I have the number right in my mind. So there are huge topics.
Some of these topics I'm really glad you mentioned them, and it makes me want to have you on for another podcast, because I think there's so many more cool topics happening out there. And it's going to transform the way, we eat, the way agriculture functions. And I would really encourage our audience to keep an eye on some of the innovation happening out of Germany, because, the European Union historically has pioneered a lot of change globally, and a lot of the research and kind of trends are also really founded and in research. And you talked about this. We have apprenticeship programs here. We have huge amounts of universities that are offering programs to do research in these different fields. So I kind of I'll leave the kind of audience from my side with a message that, look into the German market, see what people are doing in the food and agri space, what topics they're researching, because it's usually on the forefronts of where a lot of the change is going to happen. And I think you today have really highlighted that for me. The Chamber of Agriculture has an innovation role, and some of the projects you're working on are extremely indicative of how ready the German agriculture scene is to make changes where necessary. And I think that's huge, especially for a country that's known to be quite stubborn. So wrapping it up a bit. So, again, you've had a great career. You've done so much in this industry. Is there any kind of advice you'd give someone wanting to follow a similar career path? Because I'm sure there's some listeners out there who maybe also come from a family farm and, want to pursue higher education. Is there any kind of shout outs or words of advice for those people?
Well, I would say never give up. Yes, you can. So that was my motivation to go on. And the perspective matters. And it always matters. So whether in my private, scientific, or professional way, my perspective changes where the key to success. So whenever I got stuck, I tried to look at things from a different angle, and bam, I was back on track. What I would like to give you as please stay open for people, for ideas, for concepts around you, and in between you try to see the world through different glasses, and please talk to each other because socializing and networking matters. So always be open for someone, for different perspective and angles, and go for it.
I love that. And I think it's really keen advice. In fact, I had someone on recently who also said, she wishes that the agriculture industry would just speak more, network more, be open, exactly what you said. So you're reinforcing this message that, this podcast hopefully is achieving that, but that people should just be human, right? And talk to each other and build genuine relationships and be open to learn. All right. Very last question. Any final words you'd like to share with the audience before we go?
Yeah, well, agriculture is a very innovative field, and I guess we can all be happy to be part of it and benefit from our networks. And we as a Chamber of Agriculture bring a very huge network, and so just benefit from it, be part of it, contact me, and I'm looking forward to your concepts, innovations, and hopefully we create the agriculture of tomorrow together.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dorothee. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. It was also a pleasure to me to talk to you, to talk to everyone. Hopefully my English was okay to listen, and I'm really looking forward to keep in contact. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. This podcast has been brought to you by Tridge, the leading global intelligence and networking platform for agriculture. Visit us at www.tridge.com to find out more.